So for this Centifolia event, we didn't want to talk about speakers, or we don't want to talk about speakers. We're talking about inspirers. They will inspire you. You're going to get inspired, because if you, I, and they are on stage, not because they're important, it's because you, the pioneers, you're important. And this is why, this is what you will be able to do afterwards that is important. So this is why we're here to... So now I will introduce a triplet, a trio, to talk about this changing world, because yeah, you know, we can be happy about that. Well, some people say that when there is a wind of change, some people build up walls, others will build windmills. I think here we build windmills, and these changes, we want them and we want to accelerate them, but in a good direction. Otherwise, you know, we could get the wall crumbling on us. So tonight, to discuss this changing world, to give us their vision of that world, we will introduce three very inspiring speakers. We'll start with the leader, a manager, former CEO of Hermès International, currently professor at the ESCP, and in his free time president of the, is a chairman of Petit Bateau. And tonight he will share his vision of the luxury industry and of the role of brands in a changing world. Thank you. Please welcome Mr. Christian Blankert. Well, I didn't know Centifolia. I'm quite surprised. It's something inspiring. I never boast to be an inspirer. You know, I wouldn't say that. I'm not sure I'm an inspirer. Well, just what I want to do tonight simply is to share with you a couple of reflections, which are my reflections, not necessarily that of others, on what I've learned or what I think is important for the future when you are a business leader or a business manager in the world we live in and we work in. I've always pondered and asked myself three questions. First, what makes progress? Why do we progress? What do we advance? What are the expression of progress in a community, in business, in a corporation, in a company? What will generate innovation? Because innovation is to be managed in terms of a process to get there. And the third question I've always asked myself is, how do you motivate people? How can we make them more, improve their performance and skills, because what they do interests them? How do you involve them? How could you convince people? And there I'm fully in line with what the Mayor of Grasse just said. Mr. Leloum, I think his presentation was quite remarkable. Of course, money is one. Money, you know, let's not be naive, you know, it's not, let's be realistic, but not just money. Many other parameters have to be taken into account. And just before explaining the trend of the future, well, personally, I was raised in a logic which is not that of today, fair enough. I was raised at a time when there was no change of logic. It was my generation where there was basically labor, work, you know, the value of work. Man would happily destroy the environment. We were not educated with the vision of preserving the environment. This is an issue we never heard about. The real life was more individual salvation, certainly not collective intelligence.
Le bonheur était pour beaucoup plus tard.
Happiness came later.
Appris ça très jeune.
I learned that very early.
Troisièmement, j'ai été élevé dans la domination de la raison.
With the principle of the power of reason, pure reason. Kant, the Meiji era in Japan, reason first. And then I was always told that usefulness was essential. Utilitarianism first. Greeks would have said that Prometheus would symbolize efforts and Dionysos pleasure. I was more on the Prometheus side. Then there's been a clear change of paradigm, a change of heading, which I can see physically, constantly. For me, there are 5 elements in this change. First, a taste for freedom, which changes the relationships in companies. It's not just because the Berlin Wall has been knocked down and that we're happy. Just look at the bars, the bars are full with young people. People have an appetite for life, which seems quite paradoxical in a world where there is so much unemployment and difficulties. Yet at the same time, I see everywhere in the world, and trust me, I travel, and I did travel, and I still travel. There is an appetite for life everywhere, even in the most dire situations. So people want to live the present time. The carpe diem syndrome. Simply live the moment. And the taste for ephemerous things. We want things that are ephemerous. Early on, I met my friend Jean-Claude Elena, who's from Grasse originally, who knows this philosophical reflection on the ephemerous. The memory of the instant, only the present is eternal.
Le présent est fondamental.
The present is fundamental.
En raison de la crise.
Especially because of the crisis, as we said, but that's a true crisis of in the global sense of the word.
On a besoin d'éphémères personnalisés.
We need personalized or customized ephemeral situations. We want to be ourselves. It's my iPad, my iPhone, my perfume, my car. Third, the body is now the object of value in Japan, in China, in India, everywhere. People don't want to age anymore. We want to be fit all the time. Fitness for all ages, and we want to have fun, enjoy. But it goes further. It's the culture of onerism. We want to laugh. We want to give strength to what is oniric. So it's the shapes, the forms, the taste, odors, senses. And the last point, note everywhere, is the need for generosity, but not as a gift. It's more subtle, but more complicated. It's generosity towards customer, generous actions towards people who suffer, but in a discreet and we need something very shy, something very modest. And all our brands now, especially, of course, the so-called luxury brands. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but anyway, brands with atemporal aspects, strong brands that count. Patrimonial brands, family brands, and major brands, they fit within this new paradigm. So what strikes me here is that brands which were Western, with this Western philosophy, which is now outmoded, are becoming Oriental. As opposed to functionality alone. Brands want to make you dream, and in fact, they're more feminine than ever. It is quite amazing to see this need for sensuality, almost feminine sensuality we see in women that we find now in brands. Men want that. Men and women want that. They want a brand to have a sort of sensuality. How can you capture attention, and how is it possible to abandon the simplistic vision of the world, of the master of the world, of customers, of the knowledge, while integrating a dimension of dreams, of gourmandise and imaginary and fantasy, because basically what comes in international competition today, because it does exist, let's face it, international competition exists, we're not in an easy world. How can you make the difference when you sell nuclear power plant, when we sell cars, when we sell perfumes? How do we make the difference on the global market? Some have been able to do it, and they've generated very strong creativity. Some have been able to do it by relying on solid bases. But I think more than ever, we need to be aware of our history, and it gives a new impulse to young people who want to create their own story. So tell your story, your saga, your life, the way you look at things, the way you say things, and therefore people want to fit in a new logic that will be the leading one in the coming year, which is that of the offer, unlike the one that fed me, which is the logic of demand. So now it's now supply versus demand. So for a long time, I used to sell washing machines or color televisions because I knew you would not have more than two, possibly one. But since I've learned that we are now in perfumes, for example, where there is no sort of any logic as to the analysis of demand, because you can sell as many pairs of shoes to a woman, when she sees one, she buys one. So where's the potential? Potential is used. Perfume fits within that logic.
C'est mal, mais c'est comme ça.
It's not good, but that's the way it is. Madame, we do business.
Arrêtons de penser.
So, let's stop thinking that we are led by demand, and now the real competition is in supply. Of course, we need to be able to understand that if competition is in supply, well, then we've never gone through a more difficult period in order to generate creativity in our relationships.
Et puis, le monde n'est pas global.
The world is not global.
Nous apprenons chaque jour à décliner
every day
et à décliner nos
analyze markets and decline our brands according to cultures. In Japan, luxury is reassuring, like a catharsis on a wound. It is very demanding. They don't want any faults or flaws. It is a supreme symbol of perfection, otherwise it is not luxury. Otherwise it is not a great brand. In China, it's quite the opposite. It's the almost opposite definition. Luxury is a passport. The brand is a passport to find jobs. It is a revenge over cultural revolution. It is a symbol of social success. You have to show to your peers, and peers and family.
Les marques, si elles sont trop globales,
if brands are too global, if they address the world as a global manner, they don't address local culture, which means that we will be less and less exporters, because you cannot impose your logic to others, but you will be citizens of the world with our history. And I draw conclusions from all these reflections, very specific and precise reflections. First, if we don't fit in the new paradigm that is coming, following the previous one, following the previous logics, we will miss the capture of markets. We will miss the interest that clients will pay to us, that is women and men from all over the world. So we have to fit within a new logic that introduces generosity, sharing, absolute respect of the environment, dream, joy, playfulness, values that cannot be easily quantified.
Deuxièmement, si on n'est pas citoyen du monde, c'est-à-dire que si...
Now, if you're not a citizen of the world, and if you run our business with only one culture, a single culture, we cannot succeed. We will not succeed. Hence, the need to recruit people from the international dimension, from other cultures, from other countries, and not to consider, which is a mistake, that headquarters have to be entirely French, entirely American, or fully Mexicans.
L'avenir appartient à des états-majors
plurinationaux. Multinational boards.
Troisièmement, la logique de l'offre suppose de donner à la création et à l'innovation une place plus importante pour montrer que tout est possible.
More space to make sure that everything is possible, that there is no solution if you got the attitude of the sheep that follow one another. We need to go further. We have to go further. We are in a new way of thinking, which is not the one we've been educated in. The fourth point is a warning point. There is no eternal brand. There is no eternal luxury. There is no eternal success. Everything I've just said must be completed by the necessity to be afraid. When I'm struck, when in companies people who get to a good financial stability, well, especially in luxury, usually, balance sheets are usually good, but psychologically, they have a logic of success and comfort, and they made a mistake. They make a mistake. If you ask your parents, or even your grandparents, that Jack Barrelly disappeared, Mrs. Gray died and is dead forever, and Mrs. Rochas is gone off the radar screen. They were just as famous or Dior and Hermes today. So you may bore people faster than you think, and in that respect, you have to review our relationship to time. That is, we have to go faster. People get bored. You have to surprise them. You have to touch their heart with very smart issues and with collective issues. Otherwise, how can you explain that some brands, very famous brands, are now boring people in Asia? How can you explain that some perfume in very great houses are amazing failures? I will never forget when Guerlain launched a perfume called Champs-Élysées with a lot of money, trust me. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. And of course, if you leave your history, if you go away from your logic, if you shift from your own life and you tell another story with that of the others, you cannot succeed in today's world. Eventually, I'll come back to the idea I've heard early on. It is a new ethic that is to be defined. I will not talk about moral. I don't want to go on that field. Ethics. We're reaching a period, we're entering an era where we all have to question quality. We're finding solutions, but objectively we have all the same level. There will be less and less differences between automotive and cars. French cars are as good as German cars, and Japanese, do very good things. As to the US, we have not to worry. Sometimes we're much better than they are, technically speaking or technologically speaking. And everything is shared now and known, and even what you should not know. Anyway, everything is known. And with the internet, it's an interesting tool and dreadfully dangerous tool, and amazingly dangerous tool, but nevertheless. Nothing can be hidden. That's a shame, because if you cannot hide anything, we need mystery nevertheless, and trust me, mystery will come back as a key element of the brand strategy. And today, where is mystery? There's no mystery. So, how are we going to, since we'll have the same qualities, since we'll have the same objectives, the difference will come from our ability to generate something, the plus. the plus. And I won't tell you what is that plus, but is it something that deals with your heart? It is something that deals with your soul? It is something that deals with people? I don't know. Is it a way to behave? Because people are not naive. They know that they have to succeed. Results count. Financial results count. They know that they need to do it, that it is an issue of freedom and success, and we need to use this, and we know that. So let's not be naive, but let's be naive to think that there is more than that. Thus, we're going to enter a new audacity, a new way to serve people, a new definition of service. A new definition of seduction. And the challenge, if I were to summarize listening to you, and I was thinking, okay, finally, what is the core challenge we face now? And which, of course, the politicians are faced with. Well, it is not just the ability to use softness, gentleness, and the ability to dialogue as opposed to force and massive investment. No, that's not what the adventure is all about. The challenge is not just the ability to invest or to recruit. The true challenge will be to be understood and to be loved. It's a basic challenge. It concerns all brands. It's very difficult. And I do believe that to get there, the supreme mistake would be to think that you can do it through compromises. To believe that consensus or this sort of middle way position, trying to please everybody, I'll do products for India and for Japan, adapt myself to this, to that, this would be a supreme mistake. Clarity, audacity, clear-cut positions, well-thought positions from your heart, from your mind, the history, personality. These will be the answers. Thank you.